Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and it's a great pleasure to have with us the chairman of the Boeing Corporation, James McNerney. It's wonderful to have you here in India again. I'd just like to perhaps begin by asking you some of the specific issues that have really got a lot of us in India very excited. Notably, of course, some of the big defense deals that are being done. Apparently, the Apache is coming, the Chinook is coming. 2 big contracts signed just recently. I was sort of doing the math in my own head. I think Boeing alone perhaps is selling more defense equipment to India over a 10-year period than the whole of the United States did for the first 50 years or 60 years after independence.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. I hadn't known that, but Vikram, thanks for participating with us today. We highly appreciate it, and our partners at IIT Bombay. Devang, it's very nice to partner with you here. As to your specific question, yes, I think there's a good match between what we can do and what India needs. And fortunately, our Indian customer feels the same way. And so there are some systems that I think are critical to the national defense some of which are unique to India. I mean, the submarine maritime patrol plane that Pratt showed is a very unique system that anyone with a big coastline and a lot of blue water really needs this airplane or something like it. And fortunately, we have the state of the art. So. Just because we've had a lot of business doesn't mean we're going to turn away business in the future either, by the way.
Well, unless, of course, you have a bit of a problem like with the Globemaster where you don't have more planes to sell. Apparently, they want 3, the Indian government and the Indian Air Force wants 3 planes and you've only got 1 to sell them right
now. Well, India has the largest number of Globemasters outside of the United States of any country in the world, which... for both military and humanitarian purposes is a wonderful machine. This big transport that can land on unimproved runways, that can go wherever there's a natural disaster or get troops and materiel anywhere. And you're right, I mean, we had to make a decision to close the line down after 2 decades plus of very successful production. And we thought we'd sold all the airplanes the Indians wanted, and we do have 1 more. So we'd be delighted, and if anybody would like to raise their hand, they have a pretty good-sized price tag, but we do have 1 more available.
So anybody who wants to bid here before the Indian government does for that 1 plane, this is your chance. Speak now. Or there are no more Globemasters coming, from what I gather. So
the used market won't pick up for another 2 or 3 decades, so now's the time.
Right. Well, I mean, perhaps they could. I guess there are not that many of them other than the United States Air Force, so the Indian government might be going to them.
Well, there's a number outside. There's probably Chris, 300. I'm guessing plus. There's a few to be had.
Right. Well, one of the other things that, and I do want to come on to civil aviation also in just a couple of minutes, and also some of the broader questions around innovation, how we're going to fly, what you can do to make any jet setters make their life a little easier. But just to get done with defense a little bit, one of the things that I think strikes many people when they look at the way Boeing's been able to operate in India is just how smoothly all of this has gone, and all of your the deals that you've done, whether it is the P-8, whether it's the Globemaster, whether it's the Apache, whether it's the Chinook, it's come, it's gone, it's happened smoothly, people seem to be satisfied. There's none of the big drama which really quite often surrounds many defense deals in India. And I'm sure your competitors want to know, what's the secret? How do you manage it?
I think, thank you for the compliment. I think the secret is to have a team here that lives here, that can work with our customer 24/7, and that we're not flying in and out. I mean, we are here with technical manufacturing, maintenance capability, training capability, and we tried. We weren't always as successful as we wanted to be, but we tried to build the organization ahead of the requirement. We saw these deals coming, and obviously we hoped they would get done. But I think those of us that have been coming to India for many years realized that making a series of transactions, then waiting to bring people over after the machines get here is not the way to do business.
So what I've often heard is, from big global corporations and Fortune 500 companies, they've had very few hesitations or very few thoughts about actually coming in and doing a lot of services out of India. If you want to program code for the next generation of plane that you're making, doing it out of Bangalore or someplace in India is almost something which is obvious, and I'm sure that's something which you're doing already. The bigger bet is, can we build a wing out of here? Can we think about putting part of the fuselage from here? Are we anywhere close to that level right now, or is it baby steps that will be required?
I think it's closer than you'd think. It's closer than you'd think, and quite frankly, I think India is going to remain a big player on the global. Just starting at the beginning, you're the fastest growing major economy in the world right now. You have a democracy that makes us easy to work with. There are other things that are more difficult to work with, but I think all the capability is here. And the programs that I want to make sure get done here are ones that go right to your point. I mean, even assembling entire airplanes, okay? Wings, fuselages, systems that make airplanes work. They're in many respects, avionics and some of the software is in some ways more sophisticated than the structure itself. But we're committed to taking the Indian capability to that level, because it's not because of anything other than I see a win-win. I mean, I see an opportunity to help India move up by bringing some technology, bringing know-how, investing. But I think as the defense industry and the space industry in the United States in the 60s and 70s was a repository of technology and know-how that could spread across the entire economy, I think the same thing can happen here. So I think it's a strategic bet that we would make to get more business, and that India would make to get more know-how. And I want to play.
And would that extend to all the areas that Boeing is in? So defense, yes, because the government may also partly insist on some of it. Then there are the jetliners, so the next generation 777 or 787 that you're building. Could you think about doing some of that out here?
Yes.
And obviously new cutting edge areas like space as that happens.
Yes, I mean, we're in discussions on all of those areas. There are very few countries where Boeing's complete portfolio can find natural partners within the country. Because they're both an ally and a major commercial customer and have space capability. We're eager to partner in all of these areas. I mean, the capability you've demonstrated in space exploration has been significant. The Mars landing at 1/9 the cost that we can do.
I think it's roughly the same cost of going to Mars per kilometer as a three-wheeler on the streets of Delhi.
I hadn't done that math, but
it's approximately the same.
It's remarkable. It's remarkable. And so we have more possible connections here. Many countries around the world aren't our allies, so the defense and space business is really not available to partner. So they're only commercial customers. Other countries are allies, but they're not big enough to have the same potential that the commercial market has here. This is a very unique opportunity for a company like Boeing.
I guess life became a lot easier after the civil nuclear deal, because it becomes possible for you to visualize a lot of things in partnership, which may not have been possible.
That unlocked everything in the sense of the G to G relationship and opening up for more strategic technology sharing. And all of those deals you mentioned on the defense side, Vikram, they were all done after the civil nuclear deal. None of them were done before the civil
And they may not have been possible also because of technology.
It wasn't possible. It was not possible.
To what extent do you see it possible? Now, and just finishing off with the defense part of it before I come to some other areas, how possible do you think it is that you could actually have a situation where the next generation fighter planes or transport planes or missile systems can actually be co-developed between a company like yours and somebody here in India? Is that something which you think would not be a matter of surprise?
Well, I think on the defense side, the two governments have to agree what technology they'll share or not. So leaving that aside, and generally speaking, the more cutting edge the technology, the less sharing there would be, which doesn't mean that the system couldn't be sold here, but there'd be less partnering and know-how transfer. But I'll use an example that I think gets at your question, Vikram. There will be a fighter campaign in this country over the next couple of years. Our approach is going to be to take a current state-of-the-art fighter and bid, and the quantity's uncertain, but it's a significant number of fighters. And our bid will include a proposal to make the plane here. Now that's different, very different. And I think the value to India is a very modern production system, integrated to make a very sophisticated machine. I think that kind of industrial base capability is as important as the fighter itself, because these modern manufacturing techniques, I won't go into all the details, but if you can pull together 2 million parts and produce something that efficiently, that capability can go into many industries around India. And so that's how we want to play in Make for India.
But that's probably that probably is music to the government's ears, because that's exactly what they're wanting to do.
I think so.
If a company like Boeing comes and says, we will do something state of art and we'll build it right here, that's exactly what they want. And fighters is one possibility. Are there other similar possibilities that might come to
Yes,
your mind?
I mean, I think you mentioned our helicopters. The Apache is an attack helicopter. The Chinook is a heavy transport helicopter, both critical for defense. Largely assembling one of those here is something we're considering. I don't want to say anything that is not that our customer wouldn't want me to say right now, but we're in active discussions to come much closer to final assembly of that airplane, one of those airplanes here. And now that will play out, but that's our strategy. I mean, I think this market is too important. The capability is too high here. The commitment to defense is significant. And so I think that kind of commitment is warranted for us.
And on the passenger jet side and the space side, how do you see that particular market evolving in India? Because obviously 1.3 billion people, then large number of new airports coming in. I
mean, Pratt's number, if 1% of the people on trains get on airplanes, you double the size of the airplane passenger miles in this country. That's just a thumbnail for each of them. Enormous potential in commercial airplanes. We think that another 1,800 big airplanes will be sold over the next 20 years here, which would significantly increase the size of the fleet, triple it. I'm guessing triple the size of the fleet. That's worth $800 billion roughly. It's a big number. On the space side, I think what you're doing in propulsion, launch systems, is very impressive at very low cost. And in my mind, I see as we provide launch services to our customers, we don't have to use, our rockets every time. We can use rockets that are tailored for the missions, and satellites are getting smaller and fit the capability here. I see some early wins on launch here in this country.
Right, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave
Thank
it there.
you.
Thank you so much for
Vikram.
joining us.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.